why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself personally, about where you come from, about your background, your employment. Let everybody get to know you a bit, and then we'll turn to the Scientology issue more specifically.
I'll do my best. How about I start from present time and then I backfill a little bit?
Sure.
So one of the things I spend most of my time on right now is my YouTube channel, Growing Up in Scientology. And so that alludes to the fact that I was essentially born and raised in Scientology. I was actually 4 years old when my mom got into Scientology as a single mom of two young boys. And I was 12 years old, maybe just 13 years old, when I was taken out of school and started working for Scientology full-time. Full-time, not day job, 100 hours a week, 110 hours a week. And so, my first employment history was Scientology. And I've had employment history. After getting into Scientology, I've had employment history after leaving Scientology. But just probably most relevant to the conversation that we're having is, by the time I was 30 years old, I'd spent half my life working for Scientology as a staff member and what they call a C organization member. Those are the guys who sign the billion-year contracts. So, we can go deeper in that if you want, but that's the nutshell version.
Well, okay, I think there's two directions we could go there. The first is, let's start when you were 4 even. So what do you think it was that attracted your mother to Scientology? Like you said, she was a single mother, and so it's easy for single mothers to be preyed upon because they're quite isolated, generally speaking. And so that's a problem. What do you think, and what has she told you about what pulled her in the direction to begin with? And what was her structure of belief or background, say metaphysically, before the blandishments of Scientology were laid out in front of her?
So she was raised a Christian. She was raised in a very religious household, going to church every Sunday. I don't know exactly to what degree she would describe herself as having been a true believer. But I know the way she's explained it to me, it was just this feeling, this understanding, that there is something more, something greater, something outside ourselves, but not necessarily having bought in to the traditional religious story. She was meant for something greater. She was here for some reason. There was some greater value to life than is just apparent in this mortal realm. And for her, Scientology answered that question. That it filled that hole, whatever shape that hole was. It was a Scientology-shaped hole, apparently. She was introduced to Scientology by a woman her same age, roughly, who had just had her own son just a few weeks before my brother and I were born. She was not a single mother, but that relationship between my mom and this woman named Cheryl, who got her into Scientology, that's how my mom was introduced, was through her friend Cheryl. That's how most people are introduced to Scientology, is through some friend or associate, business associate or acquaintance or something like that. Now, the thing about Scientology, particularly at the lower levels, is Scientology is something that bills itself as requiring no belief, no faith. Scientology does not see itself as a faith, even though it does see itself as a religion. Now, and the distinction between those things, if there is one, might be an interesting thing for us to discuss. But Scientologists do not believe that you have to believe in Scientology. They believe it is a technology. It is something you apply. It can be measured. The results can be measured. They have this device, the e-meter, that they believe assists with this measurement. And so it's this kind of two-sided coin where my mom's looking for some greater meaning, looking for some greater purpose, looking for a way to help others. Scientology doesn't, she comes across Scientology and she goes, oh, it's something that will give me greater purpose and greater meaning, but isn't asking me to believe in X, Y, and Z. We can just do. There's a very kind of like self-helpy, applied, practical aspect to Scientology, which, by the way, is why they call themselves an applied religious philosophy, is how a Scientologist would describe Scientology.